This 350 Derby engine that got smoking hot, and I showed you the teardown of that and the inspection. We're going to replace the rod bearings, cam bearings, main bearings, head gasket, check the mains, and they haven't moved. Checked all the rods. They're all torqued right now, sitting there. We've bore gauged every rod in it. They're all perfectly round still, so that's great. Yeah, it had some bearing issues, but man, this thing got scorched and ran low on oil while it was being scorched. When you're out of coolant, it's the oil's job to cool the engine, and this thing was down to probably 2.5, 3 quarts maybe. So the oil capacity wasn't there to cool itself down either. So this thing got really, really hot. Melted the oil pan gasket out of it. Cam bearings actually looked pretty good, but I went ahead and knocked them out so we could clean in behind them. If I'm going to knock cam bearings out, I'm not going to knock them right back in. Oh, and we had some exhaust valves leaking. Valve job needed touched up. Nothing crazy. So we got that addressed. We faced all the valves, checked the springs. Everything looked good. We're going to bang some cam bearings in and get started on this thing. When you're getting ready to put cam bearings in, to clock them, most manufacturers say to put them in around 3, 4 o'clock, and blocks upside down. So if you go, noon, 3 is going to be right here. 3 o'clock's here, 6 o'clock's here. So anywhere between like 3 and 4, we want to enter the oil. There's your cam journal. We want to enter the oil on the leading edge as that cam is rotating. We're going to enter it in at the leading edge where we still have a gap because the springs are pushing the camshaft down into the cam bearing. So we're going to enter the oil up here at 3. And that way, as the cam is rotating, it's getting forced in right here and pushed in, so we still have good film strength that goes in under the cam. Now, if you enter, the easy way to do cam bearings would actually be to just put it in at the bottom. Then we can just look through the oil hole and go, yep, cam bearings lined up. We did a good job. But the problem with that is, if you put that oil hole at the very bottom and that camshaft's being forced down, you're pretty well blocking off your oil hole. It might work and survive in a daily driver application, but it doesn't mean it's right just because it worked. And also on these bearings, you can see a parting line where this bearing was put together. Be a good idea to not put the load right there. So if our bearing was going to go here, but that piece is separated, we're just going to take that same bearing, we're going to spin it, and now all of a sudden we got the parting line right there, and that keeps the weight of the cam off of the most vulnerable area. You see we got the oil hole facing straight up towards us, but we know 3 o'clock is this way. We've got it lined up here on this line of the cam bearing tool. So if I just rotate it a quarter turn, that tells me I'm going to be about 3 o'clock. So we're going to take our cam bearing tool right there like that. Now the rear bearing on a small block Chevy needs to go in further than normal, so that way it gets in the oil groove. So the way we check that is I take this little pick tool and I take it, drop it in the bearing, and make sure that the tip of the pick tool drops into the bearing. Again, we can take their pick tool and kind of hold it next to the bearing and get a size idea of what the depth should be, and then we just take it and stick it in that oil hole, which says, okay, if it went past the depth of the bearing, then we know that we're in the oil groove. So we're good to go there. Moving on. T4, I put top 4. So this is number 4 bearing that goes in. So we want this to be, since that's the parting line again, oil hole 3 o'clock. So we're going to spin it, drop it like it's hot. Take our pick tool again, drop it in. On the front, on a small block Chevy, you've got 2 oil holes. So on the front is the only exception where I normally put the one of them at 3 o'clock, the other one at the very top. So that way if it bleeds a little extra, it's just going to lube the timing chain. the back of the timing chains. Also, we're still looking at this parting line. We don't want it to be on the load side of the camshaft, which is this lower quarter of it. So we're going to drop it in. And on the front one, you just want to make sure it's not sticking out on the front face. We're going to take our pick tool, drop it in, and we're definitely going to oil all the cam bearings. It's important to make the depths on these, make sure that they're right, because if you don't oil your camshaft, you'll spin your cam bearings and your engine will be junk. J-U-N-K, junk. So for this engine, we're using this bump stick from Comp Cams, and if it looks a little discolored, it's because it is. They're just a little discolored. So this engine, I'm going to literally run it probably tomorrow. So, or at least that's the plan. So I'm going to just use motor oil, which this is our 2050 that we use from Brad Penn. So I'm going to lube these journals, maybe, as I put the camshaft in, so not to make a big mess on the floor. So I'll put that down, and I put the camshaft in before the crankshaft so I can do this. Stick my arms in here and do the work, so I don't have to really fight it as much. And then I can come back and give it one last sauce before I put more sauce in the bottle. So I do it this way. The rear cam plug is also still out, so I can stick my finger all the way in. There it is, in place, rotating like the happy little camshaft that it is. So I'm going to slide it forward just a tick and put that rear cam plug in. Wrong size. It's a wee bit too small. I hate it when that happens. Well, this is going to be fantastic. I don't do this on all of them, but because of the application, I'm going to go ahead and smear just a little bit of RTV around the outside of this plug. I haven't met anyone yet that enjoys oil leaks, and I most certainly despise them. So we'll take all of our main bearings, make sure the bearing saddles are flat, smooth, and free of debris. Line up our alignment tang. Also, these bearings usually come with a slight coating, so I hit them with some brake cleaner and then wipe them off to dry them. Just kind of a final step before putting the bearings in. For this engine, we've got ARP main bolts. We're going to give one wipe the bearing off. We're going to line up our tang in our main cap. Also push it into place. Put a little ARP lube on those bolts, just like so. Get those started. I'm still recording, so I trust you. Okay, don't hammer stuff with an impact, but if you want to make things a little quicker and you have an impact that has a 1, put it on number 1 and ram it in there. Now, if you don't, use a ratchet. It's not that big of a deal. If you don't have an impact that has a selector and puts it in dummy safe mode, then just gently pull the trigger. Or if you hear a click, let off. Just be smart about it, guys. We're just having fun building engines. We don't have to be crazy. Torque them bad boys to 70. Okay, here I am with the crankshaft for this engine. We also went over it with polish. We know it's still going to be really close to standard because we didn't get aggressive with it. We just wanted to clean it up. Now remember, this is not a C-clamp. This is a micrometer. So that's why the clicker's on here, to save you from being a dummy. You just want a light drag across there. If you feel like you're really pushing it, either your micrometer is like this, you got to have it really good and square, or it's too tight. Now we're going to set up a dial door gauge. Now we get to set up a dial bore gauge. Holy cow. 2.448. We're going to rotate this up because we want to zero this on this micrometer set point. Man, I am shaky jakey this evening. On the money. Just a tick under 3 thousandths clearance, which is really good for this derby deal. If it was a little looser, it definitely wouldn't hurt anything. A little tighter, it would definitely be not happy. The main bearings that came out of this were actually in pretty good shape. We know our bearing clearance was correct. The only damage that occurred to those was just lack of oil. Very happy with this. All right, our oil can is MT. 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 But I'm going to go ahead and shoot a little lube on all the bearings. And so the cam's already in there, so it doesn't hurt it if we hit the cam with a little oil. It is most certainly not going to hurt anything. So now we'll take our finger, give everything a nice smear job, and especially on this rear thrust, make sure you get it on the thrust side of the bearing also, not just on the bearing shell. So now we can take our freshly polished, freshly cleaned crankshaft, pick it up, and we'll drop it like it's hot. Yeah. Okay, since this bearing is just laying here itching and my fingers are already oily, I'm going to go ahead and put that one in. Bearing tang, bearing tang to bearing tang. These caps have an arrow on them facing forward, but generally on a small block Chevy, you're just bearing tang to bearing tang. And I numbered these already with the engraver when we took it apart. So oil pump studs in there. So I'm going to go ahead and screw it down bottom, and then look. We've got a couple threads. This is something you need to watch. No one talks about this. There are certain studs and the way the main caps are designed, whereas if you bottom this stud out, you'll actually be pushing on the back of the bearing. Nobody wants to do that. So I'll take that guy, stab it within also. Yeah! Hit it with that oil. Another nice little coat of Earl. Same way with the thrust. And we'll just take that guy. Again, bearing tang to bearing tang. Got our number 2. Put that guy in there. Bearing tang to bearing tang. Arrow faces forward. And this is where you go, Mister, you forgot to lube the bolts. We will lube them now. Mister. I didn't lube any of those. Remember my first engine build. When you're tightening your main caps down, it's a good idea to rotate it after you've at least snugged them all in place. If you have a problem, you're going to find it pretty quick, and then you can loosen up main caps and try to figure out which one it is. Put it all 10 of them to 70. Write it down. Come back, check the crank, spin it. It's happy. It's happy. We're happy. Everybody's happy. Better change battery. Timing chain. We've got our Cloys double row roller timing set with Torrington bearing. That's how we like to roll. 0, so we're going to roll this dot to where it's straight up and down. And we're going to put this dot to where it's straight up and down. And we're just going to drop. And it looks like we're about a tooth off. So we're going to just roll her over. Let me get down here and get in the way. There we go. We're going to take our locking plate and put a little bit of Loctite on each cam bolt. Again, if you haven't heard me say it before, there's only 2 times that I use Loctite on an engine, and that's right here, and the flywheel bolts, basically. So what you can do here is first, before we go to torquing it, it is not a bad idea to rotate the thing and line all your marks back up and just make sure you didn't screw up. Marks are lined up. They're happy. I'm happy. We're all happy. We're going to take our hammer and put it right there. 20 it is. Now we take our blunt tip screwdriver and come over and bend these up. And got our timing cover cleaned up. We got a new gasket. And we'll just hang that gasket right there. Take our timing cover. Get the bolts. Yeah, baby. Timing chain in, camshaft in, crankshaft in, torqued. Everything's torqued. Okay, so I messed up on this rear main seal and didn't get the gasket for this. It's going to be here tomorrow morning. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here and put a bolt in it so that way it doesn't slide off. And then when the gasket comes in, I can actually drop that gasket in behind. There it's on and it's not going to come back off. Now's the time I'm going to go get an engine stand and put on here because I'm not fighting this on a cart anymore. The only reason I start a one piece rear seal on the cart is because of the rear main seal itself. And since I already screwed the pooch on that, I should have skipped the cart. That's how it's supposed to go. You'll thank yourself later. We're ready to put rod bearings in, and we're going to check everything just like we did the mains. Okay guys, this is the rod, so it's the upper, and that is CR, or just C807U in. In is narrow, U is upper. So we're going to take that rod bearing and roll it right into place. This one is C807L in. In again is narrow, L is for lower, which means the cap. We'll drop it appropriately. These bolts I already doused with some lube, and I'll go torque them. Rod is torqued with a bearing in it. So we need to mic our crankshaft. So we know it's going to be around 2100. So we'll start there. 2099 niner. 20996. Just a tick under standard. That is zeroed. So we're going to take our rod and we are dead on 3.5. We're okay with that on the rods on this Derby engine that's going to get really hot and ragged out. Clearance. Cool thing about having a toolbox that has no tools in it is you can just use it for your assembly workbench when your assembly workbench is kind of messy. So now, what I'm going to do is lube the bearing surfaces, get those prepped, and then hit it all with a WD-40 so I can coat the inside of this toolbox that doesn't have any tools in it. So, do the same thing. We're just going to spritz it. Spritz it. Okay, we've coated all that stuff, got it ready to go in, but I think it's a good idea to wipe the cylinder walls out one last time before we commit to this thing. So I give them a shot, like that, and then a generous amount on your rag, and just give it the old rub down. And if it's easier, just walk around in a circle. So not much came off, but it is a little bit. So we've got our rings orientated right. Correctamundo. Always do one of those. Make sure they're seated down in the ring grooves like they're supposed to. Hey, looky there. Full pull. So we can just take and push that girl down all the way. Take our rod bearing that's loaded already. Rod cap that's loaded already. And don't worry about torquing it yet because we'll do them all at the same time. Some of you guys trying to balance on your head and torque this stuff or roll the engine over 14 billion times make my head spin. That's number one. Now we go to number three. Give it one of those. Bearing tang to the pan. And whammo. We just move on down the line, guys. And always be verifying piston rings. Hopefully you don't see this thing anytime again soon, so let's make sure it's put together right. Obviously, just like it was last time. Let's put it together and let's dream of nice warm beaches and clear sunny skies and peaceful running engines and customers that don't scorch their stuff. Unfortunately, it's just part of what happens in the derby world. It's the thrill. I don't know. These guys are into it, but there's also some big money out there for derby stuff. So, you know, like this guy, he was on a good run, and because of that, he didn't want to shut it off because he got down into the money, and I get it. I totally get it. Because our race car guys are the same way. If a race car customer comes out of turn 4 and they look down and see that their temperature gauge shows 260 or 270, and they lift, and as they lift, they look up to the flag stand and the guy's waving a white flag, And if they're leading the race, they're going to finish that race. It's just what racers do. And then they're going to hope that the winnings that they made from that race will cover the engine rebuild. But they got to take home the trophy. He can run it however he wants, I guess. So, hey, there's one side done. Now we'll just rotate it over to the other side. And we'll do our evens. Alright, we've got all our pistons and rods in. Now it's time to torque the rods. It's oil pump time. So if you're wondering why this is apart, we took everything else apart in the engine. So why would you skip the oil pump? Good question. You don't. Been running these Schumann oil pump gaskets. It's just a very thin copper gasket to go between the. Wow, I'm struggling. To go between the oil pump and the rear main cap. Just in case those surfaces aren't exactly perfecto. Definitely not mad about running them. So ARP lube on that oil pump stud. It's like a new bottle of pipe dope. Things just, or anise even. Just gonna have you covered with stuff. It's hard to get it out without getting it everywhere. What are we set on? We're set on 70, and that's exactly what it needs to be. Just 4 little baby bolts, and then our pickup screen bolts right into there. Because it's like, basically like it's a 1/4 bolts. I just go around it, and this is the trick. Hold your ratchet over the gear mechanism because you're not wanting to really yank on it. You just want to get as much as you could from basically a little bit more than a screwdriver. It's tight. Cue the music.